The feud that Nigerians thought had gone quiet has roared back to life, and this time neither man is holding back. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo has dropped a fresh bombshell, accusing his one-time deputy Atiku Abubakar of secretly financing a plot to remove him from office during their first term together. Obasanjo says the plan was hatched right inside the presidency on a Friday when he was away from the office, and that it was Atiku who called the late Speaker of the House, Gali Umar Naaba, in for a private meeting. According to Obasanjo, that meeting wasn't just talk. He claims Atiku handed Naaba 5 million naira to get the impeachment machinery moving, and that the entire episode was tracked and reported to him afterward by his own chief of staff, a man he describes as a trained intelligence officer. Obasanjo insists he wasn't rattled at the time because he believed there was no constitutional case strong enough to remove him. But more than 2 decades later, he is choosing to lay it all out in public, and the timing has raised eyebrows across the political class. He didn't stop at the alleged bribe. Obasanjo went further, painting a picture of a two-pronged strategy he says Atiku ran to eventually claim the presidency for himself. On one side, he alleges Atiku reached out to former Vice President Alex Ekume, proposing an arrangement where Ekume would take power and then hand it over to Atiku a few years into the term. On the other side, Obasanjo claims Atiku was courting the 6 governors of the Alliance for Democracy in the Southwest, offering them a deal. Their parties would face no serious opposition in the 2003 governorship races if they threw their weight behind an Atiku presidency in 2007. Obasanjo frames this as the real story behind the fall of those 80 governors, rejecting suggestions floated by former Ogun State Governor Olusegun Obasanjo that he himself had deceived Southwest leaders ahead of that election. In Obasanjo's telling, it wasn't his doing at all. It was internal betrayal, weak coordination among the 80 governors, and a deputy playing a long political game against the man who put him in office. Atiku was never going to let that stand, and he didn't wait long to respond.
Through his spokesman, Frank Shaibu, the former vice president fired back with a statement carrying a pointed title, one that essentially argues that a dead man cannot be dragged into a fight he can no longer answer. Atiku's camp made clear that Naaba passed away without any chance to confirm or deny the 5 million naira claim, and accused Obasanjo of choosing this exact moment after Naaba's death to make the allegation stick. Atiku didn't just deny the money changed hands. He turned the story back onto Obasanjo, insisting that the real root of their decades-long rift was never any impeachment scheme, it was the third-time agenda. Atiku maintains that he stood against Obasanjo's push to extend his presidency beyond the 2 terms allowed by the Constitution, and that he fought that battle in court rather than in the shadows. He describes it as a defense of Nigeria's democracy at a moment when the country's constitutional order was genuinely at risk, and he's framing Obasanjo's current allegations as an attempt to rewrite that history in his own favor. There's also a political undertone neither man is bothering to hide. Atiku has pointed directly at the calendar, suggesting that Obasanjo's timing has everything to do with the 2027 general election drawing closer. His message is that Nigerians today are far more consumed by the cost of living, insecurity, joblessness, and a mounting national debt than by a political quarrel from more than 20 years ago. He's also made a pointed remark that Obasanjo is free to back whichever candidate he wants heading into 2027, but that such backing should come through open political persuasion, not through recycled and unverifiable claims about the past. What makes this round of the feud different is how public and detailed it's gotten. This isn't a vague jab at a press conference or a line buried in a memoir. Obasanjo has put names, dates, and a specific naira figure on the record. Atiku's team has answered with an equally detailed rebuttal, wrapped in the accusation that his old boss is exploiting a dead man's inability to speak for himself.
Political watchers are already reading the exchange as an early skirmish in the broader battle lines forming ahead of 2027. Obasanjo's endorsement carries weight in Nigerian politics, and dragging Atiku's credibility into question this early could be read as an attempt to shape perceptions before the real campaign season begins. Atiku, for his part, is trying to flip the narrative, positioning himself as the man who once put his career on the line defending constitutional government, while suggesting his accuser is the one with something to prove. Neither camp shows any sign of backing down. Obasanjo's allies say more details could still emerge if the dispute continues, while Atiku's team insist they are done relitigating a chapter of history that, in their words, has already been settled in the courts and in the public record. For now, the accusations sit in the open, unresolved and unverified beyond the word of 2 men who have spent more than 20 years disagreeing about what really happened inside the presidency during those turbulent years. Whether this latest exchange fades quietly or pulls in more names, more statements, and more old allies taking sides, one thing is already clear. As Nigeria edges closer to 2027, this is a rivalry that refuses to stay buried, and the next move from either man could land at any moment.